Zach Thompson had always been a go-getter. At 27, he was on the rise in his career as a graphic designer, working at a fast-paced advertising firm in the heart of New York City. He had a comfortable apartment, a steady income, and a circle of friends who admired his creativity and ambition. Life was supposed to be on an upward trajectory, but something was starting to change, something Zach didn't immediately notice. It all started one evening after a long day at work. Zach plopped down on his couch, exhausted but eager to unwind. He grabbed his phone and instinctively opened Instagram. He had been using the app for years, casually posting pictures, checking out the occasional story, and liking photos of friends or brands he admired. But one night, a small, innocent update caught his eye. Instagram had launched a new feature, Reels. Reels were designed to compete with TikTok, offering short, engaging videos that could capture a viewer's attention for seconds at a time. Zach's curiosity got the best of him, and he clicked on one. It was a video of a dog doing tricks, simple and cute. He laughed. It was funny, easy, and quick. His thumb naturally swiped to the next video, then the next, and the next. Before he knew it, an hour had passed. Just one more reel, Zach promised himself. But that one more reel turned into dozens, then hundreds. As his thumb lazily scrolled up and down, he felt a small hit of dopamine each time he watched something amusing, entertaining, or exciting. It was all designed to grab attention quickly, keep people hooked, and offer a never-ending cycle of enjoyment. For Zach, it felt harmless at first. He wasn't wasting time. He was just scrolling through a few videos, decompressing after work. But as days went by, his habit grew. It wasn't just after work anymore. He started watching Reels while eating breakfast, during his lunch break, and even when he was supposed to be getting ready for bed. The more he scrolled, the more addicted he became. Weeks turned into months, and Zach's once-focused energy began to fade. His friends noticed that he was always on his phone. At first, they joked about it, calling him the Instagram king. But Zach couldn't deny that his productivity at work was beginning to drop. His manager, Karen, had always been impressed with his design skills and creative input. But lately, Zach had been showing up late to meetings, missing deadlines, and offering lackluster work. Karen, noticing the shift, decided to have a conversation with him. "Zach, is everything okay?" she asked, leaning against his desk. "I've noticed your performance has slipped lately. I know you're one of our best designers, but this isn't like you." Zach shrugged it off, offering a sheepish smile. "I've just been a little distracted lately. I'm sure it's nothing." But it wasn't nothing. The truth was, Zach couldn't focus. Every time he sat down to work, his mind drifted to the screen of his phone. The urge to check Instagram was almost unbearable. He thought about it during meetings, while eating, and even when he was supposed to be sleeping. The continuous cycle of watching Reels had trained his brain to expect instant rewards, leaving him unable to concentrate on long-term projects. The satisfaction of a well-designed ad, the feeling of completing a major task, those things no longer gave him the same rush as the instant gratification of a funny video or a meme. Despite his mounting pressure at work, Zach couldn't seem to stop himself. The endless scrolling had become more than just a habit. It had become an addiction, and he was trapped in it. One fateful afternoon, Zach had an important presentation to deliver. It was a pitch for a new client, a company that had the potential to change the trajectory of his career. The team had spent weeks designing the perfect campaign, and Zach was supposed to lead the presentation. He'd prepared for it, at least in theory, but as the time approached, he couldn't stop himself from checking Instagram. He promised he would only take a quick break, 5 minutes max. That 5 minutes turned into 30, then 45. By the time he looked up, he had missed the meeting entirely. His heart sank as he realized what had just happened. His phone buzzed incessantly with messages from his co-workers, but he couldn't bring himself to answer them. Karen's text was short and to the point. "Where are you? The client is waiting." Zach's stomach twisted. He knew he had just ruined his chance at the big promotion. He tried to call his team, but they didn't answer. He was already feeling the weight of the consequences. The client had walked out, and Zach had lost the trust of his co-workers and manager. By the time he mustered the courage to show up at the office, Karen was waiting for him. "We need to talk," she said, her tone firm yet sympathetic. "I don't know what's going on, but this isn't like you. I'm putting you on a performance improvement plan. We're giving you one last chance, Zach." Zach's mind was foggy. He could barely process what Karen was saying. His addiction to Instagram had overtaken everything, including the one thing he had worked so hard to achieve, his job, his career. It was all slipping through his fingers, and he couldn't stop it. The days following the meeting were a blur. Zach tried to focus on work, but it felt like he was living in two separate worlds. At work, he was an employee on a tight leash, constantly struggling to meet expectations and mend his reputation. But in the realm of Instagram, he was living in a constant cycle of scrolling, watching, laughing, and feeling the rush of instant gratification. He couldn't break free. The addiction had taken hold of every part of his life. It wasn't just his work that suffered, it was his relationships too. Zach's friends stopped inviting him out. His roommates grew frustrated with his constant presence in the living room, glued to his phone. His parents called, concerned about his behavior, but Zach brushed them off. He didn't know how to explain it. He couldn't stop. He needed the quick hits of entertainment, the dopamine rush from watching funny videos, the sense of belonging from the likes and comments. But the real cost was beginning to show. Zach had missed another deadline. His design proposals were subpar, rushed, and uninspired. He lost another client, and his boss started making inquiries about his future with the company. Zach was too deep into the spiral to realize that his job wasn't the only thing that was at risk. He had isolated himself emotionally, disconnected from his friends and family. He had become a shell of the person he once was, his creativity and passion stifled by his addiction. One evening, as Zach sat on his couch scrolling through Instagram for hours on end, he had a moment of clarity. He was watching yet another reel, this one featuring a guy performing a dance challenge. He was amused, but then the realization hit him like a ton of bricks. This was it. This was all there was. He was wasting his life away in a loop of endless scrolling, consumed by something as trivial as a fleeting video. His future, his career, and his relationships were all slipping away because of this simple app. Zach knew he needed help, but how? He felt overwhelmed by the idea of quitting, of cutting himself off from the only thing that seemed to give him any satisfaction. The next day, Zach did something he never thought he would. He reached out to a therapist. Therapy was tough. Zach had to confront the root causes of his addiction and the emotional void he was trying to fill with endless scrolling. He spent weeks working on strategies to break his habit, learning about the neurological impacts of social media addiction and how it rewired his brain to seek constant reward. The road to recovery was long, but Zach began making small changes. He set limits on his phone, blocking Instagram during work hours. He focused on his creative projects again, rediscovering his love for design. Slowly, his work improved, and his relationships began to heal. But the struggle wasn't over. Instagram remained a constant temptation, and Zach had to fight every day to stay present in the real world. He learned that the battle wasn't just against the app, it was against his own desire for instant gratification, the need for constant validation from likes and comments. Months later, Zach had regained control of his life. He found a healthy balance between work, social media, and his personal life. He still used Instagram, but he had learned to use it mindfully, keeping it from controlling his every moment. His career was back on track, and his relationships were stronger than ever. Zach's story was a reminder that in a world filled with distractions, it was easy to lose yourself in the allure of instant gratification. But with the right help, patience, and self-awareness, it was possible to break free from the spiral and reclaim your life. Zach never forgot the lessons he learned during his time in the Instagram spiral. He became an advocate for mental health and the responsible use of social media, sharing his story with others who struggled with similar addictions. He knew that his journey was far from over, but every day he chose to be present, to focus on the things that truly mattered. In the end, Zach had learned to be in control of his life again. Not Instagram, not the scrolling, but him.